the anger is palpable, and you just played that clip from AOC. We're seeing this dynamic play out across the board in a lot of these Democratic caucus lunches, right, that have been widely reported in terms of a screaming match going on the last couple of days on Capitol Hill. You had Senator Warnock, Raphael Warnock, come up and say today, actually, in the last couple of minutes, that it's likely that there's going to be new Senate Democratic leadership in 2 years for the caucus. So there is this dynamic at play. Obviously, Senator Fetterman has said that he is a yes on this. Senator Schumer obviously has said he is a yes. It'll be interesting to see where they piece together the other votes for cloture. Likely not to support the budget, but just to get over that first hurdle in terms of actually bringing it to the floor by midnight tonight.
You don't think we shut down?
I do not think we shut down. We'll see, again, if this anger convinces more folks. The one good thing for Schumer, not good for my party, but the one good thing for Schumer right now is he has a good number of retirements that are happening. Gene Shaheen just announced, Gary Peters, others, part of his leadership team that don't have to face the voters. That gives him a little bit more leverage to say, I need your help on this important vote.
Okay, Alex, do you think that there's a shutdown on the cards here? And if not, are we at the point where avoiding a government shutdown is considered a win for the Republican Party?
I think so. I don't think we're anywhere close to a government shutdown. I think that that Democrats will fall in line. As a Republican, it feels really good to see the Democrats be in disarray and have some leadership issues and see their rank and file members kind of rebelling against leadership. That's something, as a Republican, we've become quite accustomed to. We do. We know it very, very well. And so I think that the Donald Trump's tweet about Leader Schumer, kind of comparing him, he said guts and courage. Schumer has guts and courage. It made me think of Guts and Glory with Patton, and he's always one for theatrics. But I think that is really trying to put even Leader Schumer in an even tougher spot when you have the President of the United States praising Chuck Schumer. Democrats are fairly listless, and you see what happened with the State of the Union with some of the responses and just kind of the actions that Democrats had. I think with Leader Schumer and the progressives in his party really kind of rebelling, with AOC, with Patty Murray, kind of already coming out and questioning him, it really puts him in a tough spot. And again, it feels good for Republicans to be able to.
And Patty Murray really isn't on the left side of. She's fairly centrist, and obviously the leadership of the Budget Committee and things like that. So to see those cracks in the wall is interesting, certainly.
Well, the Truth Social post you mentioned, Donald Trump talking about Chuck Schumer, is like, I mean, this is for the ages. Congratulations to Chuck Schumer for doing the right thing. You said it, Alex. Took guts and courage. The big tax cuts, L.A. fire fix, debt ceiling bill, so much more is coming. He goes on to write, again, really good and smart move by Senator Schumer. 24 hours ago, he called him a Palestinian from the Oval Office. Kevin, is this a new beginning or some kind of joke?
This is some kind of joke, I think. Okay. This is obviously not helpful, but to Alex's point, he's rubbing it in now that he has Chuck Schumer cornered publicly, saying that he will support the votes to get this to the floor tonight. And again, this is Trump being Trump in his most purest form, because again, he knows he has Schumer where he wants him, and now is playing with the leader and is in this difficult position, balancing actually funding the government with the progressive left that is very agitated and angry.
Alex, you don't mind watching Democrats in disarray right now, but what do you make of the anger at this point? Because we're at new levels, I think, in Washington, where people wonder if these two parties will be able to work together on anything. They're not consulting each other on anything. We're getting in screaming matches on television. Interviews frequently result in nothing. It's not a very productive conversation right now. What do you do about it?
Well, I think one of the things that I've found really interesting is seeing the relationship between Hakeem Jeffries and Speaker Johnson. And I think we have to get to a place where there's some trust in leadership. And so maybe this is a new day for Senate Democrats and Chuck Schumer being brought back to the table. We saw it in the first administration where Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer in the Oval Office walk out with a win with President Trump. Not happening so much this time, it's on the flip side. But I think maybe building trust in these folks and having some trust in the relationships. Not that you're going to agree on everything, but again, I think the model for the country and for people in D.C. really should be that Hakeem Jeffries, Mike Johnson relationship where they have a mutual trust and respect of no surprises. I think that's been helpful.
Can that happen as long as Elon Musk is in Washington, Kevin?
I mean, it is, to Alex's point, it is happening on the House. I think that is a really good point that Alex makes. I mean, there was not that relationship with Leader Jeffries and Speaker McCarthy. I think, Speaker Johnson coming in, they have done a good job. Again, in total disagreement on a lot of these issues, but the idea of don't surprise me and I won't surprise you, and realizing that they've got some radical folks on both caucuses and let's let cooler heads prevail. I think that, again, and we saw that play out during the State of the Union, whatever you call that speech, where Hakeem Jeffries was not pleased with his caucus, with some of the members with the signage and things like that, wanted decorum and wanted respect in that chamber, and holding back some of the farther left folks in the party. I think you're going to see that process play out. But again, with that Elon Musk backdrop, that is the question.
What do you think about this? Is Elon Musk good for Donald Trump in the end? Because that's all we tend to talk about here. And he's standing next to the Oval Office. He's in the driveway. He's got the kid running up to reporters. I mean, they're literally selling Teslas. It's become a huge turnoff. And I bring this up because you both specialize in communications. And there seems to be this idea that maybe if it weren't as gratuitous, that we'd be having a better conversation here, Alex.
So I think there's actually two different points there. So one is I think that with Elon Musk being involved, you have a little bit of the firepower. The anger is kind of blunted from Donald Trump. People aren't really considering Donald Trump as the boogeyman, but instead they're looking at Elon Musk as the boogeyman, and it gives the president a little bit of an out. He can let Elon go, as he told him to. He wanted him to do more, and then he can pull him back on his leash a bit, like he also did after the last cabinet meeting. And so that gives kind of Donald Trump some cover. But also, I think that the left is very energized right now. But I think you look at Republican voters, and I think that you look at independent voters, a lot of the polling that has come out since the president has taken office is that people like a lot of what Elon is doing, what he's being charged with. Now, will that have an effect at some point if their cuts really start affecting people? But I think by and large, people want the government to be smaller, and they just, at least for right now, really like the direction that's heading. Again, and I think that if Elon flies too close to the sun, Donald Trump will have him removed and move him out of the position. But right now, it seems like there's some cohesion, even as some of the cabinet secretaries privately and some reporting are signaling they're not really comfortable. But I think voters at the end of the day want government to be more efficient and be smaller. And at least Donald Trump is doing exactly what he told voters he was going to do.
Well, coexisting remains an issue here, getting along, having a productive conversation. And this is, again, why it's fascinating for me to get to know the two of you. You live together. You have a wonderful marriage, a D and an R. So what's the secret? I don't mean to be so trivial here, Kevin, but do you talk about politics at home? Do you guys, argue it out when you disagree on something, or do you have to draw a line? Is there a point where we have to move away from politics and deal with each other as human beings?
We do talk politics all the time at home. But back to the conversation about Hakeem and Speaker Johnson, it comes from a position of respect, right? So there's fundamental respect about his experiences. He was an RNC spokesman. He was the youngest ED of the state party in South Carolina. In terms of the campaign work that I've done, delivering marriage equality for Maryland. So there is a level of respect that comes with our experience and knowledge. And an idea that we can play ideas off one another and convince, I've come a little bit his way on some things, and he's come a little bit my way on some things. There's a good amount of wine involved in most conversations.
Definitely bourbon.
And bourbon for Alex, so that's helpful too.